lost among the clouds of Venus. Commander Elias Voss never imagined he would die on Venus. His mission was routine: survey the planet's atmosphere, gather data, and return to the orbital station. But when a micrometeorite storm struck his shuttle, Odyssey 3, the ship spiraled out of control, breaching the dense yellow clouds. The crash landing was violent. Odyssey 3 slammed into a rocky plateau, barely holding together under the planet's crushing pressure and scorching heat. Elias groaned, checking his suit's life support: 72 hours of breathable air. He had less than 3 days to fix his ship or become just another lost traveler swallowed by Venus. Day 1, the scorching hellscape. Venus was relentless. The atmosphere pressed down on him like an iron fist, and temperatures soared beyond 900 degrees Fahrenheit 475 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. His suit's cooling system fought desperately to keep him from roasting alive, but he could feel the heat creeping in. Odyssey 3 was in pieces. The main hull remained intact, but the power core was damaged, and worse, the heat shielding was compromised. Without repairs, even if he managed to take off, he'd be vaporized before reaching orbit. His first priority: shelter. The ship's wreckage offered some protection, but he needed reinforcement. Using debris, he improvised a heat-resistant barrier around the cockpit, buying himself more time. Day 2, the toxic struggle. He woke up drenched in sweat, oxygen reserves dwindling. He needed to fix the power core now. Stepping outside, Elias carefully navigated the treacherous terrain. The sky was a sickly orange, and the air was thick with sulfuric acid clouds. His suit's filters were barely holding up. He scouted the wreckage, scavenging whatever he could: wiring, circuit boards, cooling rods. Then he noticed something horrifying: hairline fractures on his visor. If it shattered, the crushing pressure would liquefy him in seconds. He had no choice but to patch it with emergency sealant, hoping it would hold. With salvaged components, he rigged a makeshift power bypass, enough to restart Odyssey 3's core. One step closer to escape. Day 3, the final gamble. 12 hours of oxygen left. The power core hummed weakly, but the ship still wasn't spaceworthy. The heat shielding remained a problem. Elias had one idea: use the shuttle's emergency coolant supply to reinforce the hull. He worked frantically, coating critical areas with liquid nitrogen coolant. It wasn't perfect, but it might hold long enough to break through the atmosphere. With no time left, he climbed into the pilot's seat. Engines roared. The ship shuddered violently as it lifted from the surface, fighting against Venus's grip. The heat shielding strained, cracked, but, miraculously, held. As Odyssey 3 broke through the clouds, sunlight bathed the ship in golden light. Elias gasped as he saw the orbital station in the distance. He had survived the planet of death. Against all odds, Elias Voss escaped Venus.